Perhaps you've been in this situation. You get out of bed and turn on the radio to listen to your favorite talk show. You begin making your morning coffee, and then you turn on the television to watch the morning news. Now, with the radio blaring and the television blasting, you decide to go through your voicemail messages. Yet when you finally get to leaving the house, you find yourself being unable to remember a single thing that was said. If you think about it, the more sounds there are surrounding us, the less we actually hear. We may believe that we will be able to take in more information if we have multiple sound outlets on at the same time, like TV or radio. But the more we play in the background, the less we actually hear. In a comparable way, we find ourselves today in a world of noise, not just that of our various forms of technology, but that of the many competing voices in our society. There are so many different forces and different voices pulling us in an unending number of directions. At times, we can feel as though we are lost, not sure which way to turn. This was the plight of the apostles. Even after the resurrection, they were still enduring the effects of the Tower of Babel, where because of man's pride, the one language spoken by everyone in the world was dispersed into numerous tongues and dialects, so that it was almost impossible for people to understand one another. The apostles found themselves overwhelmed by the many different voices of the peoples around them, who doubted in the truth of Jesus or questioned his teachings. Additionally, they were overwhelmed by the chaos of the voices within their hearts, harboring feelings of guilt, hopelessness, powerlessness, and doubt. Because of this, the apostles were afraid and found themselves ineffective in the ministry Jesus had tasked them with, namely to go and proclaim the good news. They were afraid because while they were listening to the voices of so many, they were unable to hear the voice of the one who truly mattered, that of the Lord. What was needed was a language that would help the apostles listen to that voice. The outpouring of the Holy Spirit, which we celebrate today on the Feast of Pentecost, led to the birth of the church and the birth of a new language, a language spoken and understood by all. This language is the language of love. It is the language of the Holy Spirit. Surely, they said, all these people speaking are Galileans. How does it happen that each of us can hear them in our own language? We hear them preaching in our own language about the marvels of God. For the good news to be proclaimed and received, there was a need for a common language. All barriers of language, tribe, and race had to give way to a language understood by all. At the first Christian feast of Pentecost, all those who allowed themselves to be transformed by the power of the Spirit were given this new language, the language of the Holy Spirit. The gift of this language transformed people who came from different nations, race, language, and tribe by allowing them to hear the voice of God and thereby uniting them in the one Christian family. Through the descent of the Holy Spirit, the apostles were finally able to hear God's voice clearly through the language of love and were given the strength and conviction to follow their vocation. The risen Lord breathes on them and says, "Peace be with you." Out of the chaos of all the noise and clamor, the Holy Spirit brings unity. He brings peace. He allows us to hear through the noise, to hear only the message that we need to hear, the message that God is trying to give us to help guide us on our path in life. How often do we feel as if we are drowning in a cacophony of noise, striving to hear the Lord's words for us, but find ourselves unable to discern his voice through the static? If we remain close to the gift of the Holy Spirit in our hearts, he will help us to hear God's voice, and he does so in a language we can understand. This message can be given to us in many ways. It is given in prayer. Sometimes it is given through the many different people in our lives, or instruments of the Holy Spirit. They are like the driving wind in the first reading, inciting us along the path God has placed before us. I am here today to tell you that you have communicated this language of love of the Holy Spirit to me. You have been like that driving wind, encouraging me, pushing me forward, allowing me to hear the voice of God among the noise of my life, his undeniable call to the priesthood. In moments of doubt or dejection, you have all given me encouragement and affirmation and have gently guided me back to the right path. You have helped me to see the ways in which God is working in my life and the ways in which he was working through me. There is no doubt in my mind that the Holy Spirit was speaking his language of love to me through all of you, helping me to be able to say yes to the vocation he has given me. The Lord is also trying to speak to you. Be open to the ways in which the Holy Spirit may be speaking the language of love to you through the different experiences and people in your life. Pray to him. Stay close to him. Eventually, the voice of the Lord will burst forth from the chaos and resound clearly in your hearts, directing you on the path that God wishes for you in your life. With the help of the Holy Spirit, the apostles were able to do amazing things and were able to spread the good news to the entire world, making disciples of Christ in all nations. So too will we, if we remain close to the Holy Spirit and follow his direction. Thank you for allowing the Holy Spirit to speak his language of love to me through you, and know that you remain in my prayers always.